I work with high-performing individuals, and it's all about how can I help you be the best version of yourself. And that means optimizing your mind, optimizing your body to function at the highest level. And that's never accomplished with our traditional healthcare system.
Welcome to the Wealth Strategy Secrets of the Ultra Wealthy podcast, where we help entrepreneurs like you exponentially build wealth through passive income to live a life of freedom and prosperity. Are you tired of paying too much in taxes, gambling your future on the stock market, and want to learn about hidden strategies for making your money work for you? And now your host, Dave Wolcott, serial entrepreneur and author of the best-selling book, The Holistic Wealth Strategy.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode on Wealth Strategy Secrets. Today we are joined by Dr. Tracy Gapin. This is going to be a special episode for you guys today, and I really hope you pay attention because without your health, you could have all the wealth in the world, but frankly, it's meaningless. So we're lucky today to have Dr. Gapin joining us on the show to share his insights. Dr. Gapin is a board-certified urologist and men's health and performance expert. He's also the founder of the Gapin Institute, which is a global leader in high-performance health. He's got over 20 years of experience and is dedicated to providing personal health optimization for executives, entrepreneurs, and athletes, and is also a TEDx speaker and the author of Male 2.0 and Codes of Longevity. Dr. Gapin, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks so much. Glad to be with you today, Dave.
Yeah, no, this is such a pleasure. And, I just want to take a moment to really level set for the audience on how important this is. Sadly, I had one of my best friends in college just pass away literally 10 days ago at the age of 55. And, he had a blockage in his heart, completely healthy, happy, vibrant, beautiful family. So my heart really goes out to him, but I really stress to the audience on just having information about your health is so critical. And it's some of the things that you just don't see, right? Because we live in this world of sick care where you go in, something is broken and you get it fixed. But it's the things that are under the hood that you can't see that can have the biggest surprises. So on that note, Dr. Gapin, tell us a little bit about your journey from being a urologist, getting into high performance health. What does that really mean to you? And, what is your, really overview on the healthcare system today?
Oh, man. First of all, I love everything you just said. Everything you said was amazing. And we align 1,000%. So, I come from the traditional healthcare world. I spent 23 years as a urologist here in Sarasota, Florida, in a very busy practice, doing a ton of robotic surgery, treating prostate cancer, treating kidney stones, doing all the traditional, typical things. And about halfway through my career, this is about 12 years ago, I realized that I was a mess myself. And I was about 30 pounds overweight, and I felt like crap, and I wasn't sleeping, and I was stressed out, and I wasn't exercising, and I realized that I didn't really like who I was. And I had a son on the way, my first kid, and for me, being a dad is my big why. That's really what it's all about, right? That's what I focus on every day is how can I be the best dad? And so I knew something had to change in myself personally and in my career, and I went, and I tell about the story in my book, Male 2.0, but the pivotal moment in my career and my life was when I went to this concierge doc here in town, and he had no answers for me. It was this nonsense of, just lose weight, eat more vegetables, and I might put you on a statin. And that was it. And I'm like, well, goddamn, there's got to be more than that. And I had to humbly recognize that as the, men's health expert that I was as a urologist, I didn't really have the answers either, other than, what drug do I use to treat a diagnosis? And this goes back to what's wrong with our entire healthcare system, that we are the medical professionals, doctors, when we go through medical school, we are trained, find the diagnosis, and this is the drug. Find the diagnosis, this is the drug. And it becomes this pharmaceutical-driven system that has gotten out of control. And we don't get one day of education on nutrition, nothing about the stress, the impacts of stress, nothing about fitness, nothing about sleep, nothing about anything other than find the diagnosis code and treat it with a pill or a surgery or something to that effect. So that got me going down rabbit holes for my own selfish needs of getting better personally. And I found this whole world of precision medicine, which is how we can use genetics and personalize lifestyle recommendations based on epigenetics, which is the science of how our lifestyle and environment affect our own physiology. I learned about functional medicine, and I'm going through certifications on how to actually do hormone therapy the right way. I learned about peptide therapy and how amazing peptides are. I learned about this entire world of longevity, and that used to be a bad word, but now we recognize that the science is really there to slow and actually reverse the aging process, which is fascinating, and it's real, and it's all based on science. So that got me to turn my health around, and it got me to finally find that passion again about medicine that I had lost. And fast forward 8 years later, I give my partners notice, my 1 year notice that I'm leaving. I jumped off a cliff and I'm done, I'm out. And I launched the Gapin Institute 4 years ago so that I can follow my passion, follow my dreams. And it was the best decision I ever made, Dave. Now my only regret is that I waited so long to do it. And now I work with high-performing individuals, and it's all about how can I help you be the best version of yourself. And that means optimizing your mind, optimizing your body to function at the highest level. And that's never accomplished with our traditional healthcare system. That's what's really wrong about it. And if you have a heart attack, if you have a stroke, if you have a gallbladder attack, if you have a kidney stone, hey, traditional healthcare system is wonderful for those crisis situations. But make no mistake about it, we don't have healthcare in the system. We have disease care, crisis care.
Yeah, quite an amazing journey and transition that you made. Let's try to tell the audience a little bit about, how would you frame this, right? Because, I think oftentimes things are siloed to, right, as you talk about, you might have a particular injury or something's wrong, you go and you kind of attack that. But functional medicine is a completely different approach. Yeah. So if someone was really new to this, right, sure. where would you start with someone?
Yeah, I think great question. I think it's important to frame this of why should anyone listen to this care? Like, look, I'm here to, how do I make more money? I just want to build a massive empire. I want to get to 10 figures. Just tell me how to make money. Well, let me put it this way. I believe personally that how you show up every day, the success you achieve in your business, the quality of your life, all directly depend on your health. And I have a couple examples that will hopefully drive this point home. You look at Paul Allen. Paul Allen, he was the co-founder of Microsoft. He was worth $30 billion at one point, 30 with a B, $billion. And he died at the age of 65 from lymphoma. Pretty young age. Steve Jobs, we all know, founder of Apple. He died at age 56, pancreatic cancer. Those guys have all the money in the world, but they couldn't buy one more day. And so I think it's incredibly important that we identify the priorities in our life. And to me, sure, we all want to make money. We all want to be successful. We all want to live a good quality life. We all want to be successful in our business. But if you don't have your health as the foundation, as the bedrock, if you don't own it and invest in it, then you're going to end up being like one of them. And I think that's what it's all about. I think it's about committing to your health. And that's really the foundation of it all. So when I work with guys, we could talk about the strategies and the tactics behind that. But the foundation of it is, first and foremost, live with intention and decide that you're going to own it and take charge of it.
Yeah, that's so valuable, right? Because it really is all about your vision and your why. And when you can really understand that why, hey, there's days where I don't feel like doing that workout either, or that next interval, or jumping in the cold plunge, things like that. But when you have crystal clear clarity, on your vision and what it's all for, it just becomes automatic, right? And it becomes kind of part of your lifestyle, right? And then you get to show up to your business, to your family, to your relationships, with so much more energy and vitality. And it's just really a great way to live.
Without question. Yeah. And I mentioned earlier, being a dad to me is the single most important job that I have. And it's all about how can I show up and be present and engaged when that time comes. And so, yes, my business is incredibly important. My clients, my career, financially, all that, of course, is important. But it all comes down to, as you mentioned, what is your why? And are you staying true to that why and doing everything you can to optimize yourself for that. And when you do that, suddenly all those micro decisions that you have throughout the day become that much easier, and your commitment level changes when you just honor what that why is.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the jumping off point for people, right? Because I think a lot of people just don't even understand really what functional medicine is or the approach, or people might say, okay, I've got my why, I'm committed there, but what's really the next step? Where should people kind of start?
Yeah. So what we do is we integrate functional medicine with traditional medicine, with precision medicine, with regenerative medicine, longevity. We kind of mold them all together, if you will. And so the underlying principle, though, of functional medicine per se is identifying the root cause. So what we look at is, and we have a very clear method, a process of how we do this, but what we're doing is we're looking for what are the underlying physiologic processes that are working well, and what are the ones that need attention, and how can we optimize those? And so my method it starts with discovery, first of all, diving deep into what's important to you, what's your why, what are your challenges, what are your goals, and how are we going to keep you consistently engaged, first and foremost. But after discovery is diagnostics, and that's where we really dive deep and find the hidden blind spots. And so I talk a lot about how we all have hidden blind spots that are either holding us back or lurking under the surface waiting to cause problems. Like, the typical, you see the picture of the iceberg, but you look under the water and you see how much bigger it is below the surface. My example here is Bob Harper. Bob Harper is the head fitness trainer on the TV show The Biggest Loser, right? That guy looks amazing. We all aspire to look like him. He's training people how to get healthy, and he's in the best shape of his life. And then at age 51, he has a massive heart attack. Guy almost died, had surgery for we call a widowmaker, a massive blockage in his heart. And afterwards, he was interviewed after his surgery. He talks about how there were things going on in my body that I wasn't even aware of, to paraphrase him. And those are the blind spots I'm talking about, where if that guy is doing everything right, we talk about how important diet and exercise are. 100% agree they are. And we recognize there are a lot of things going on that you're not even aware of that are causing major problems. And so to get back to your question, the answer is we're looking at things like inflammation. We're looking at hormones. Not, guys always think testosterone. You have 50 hormones we got to focus on. So yes, T is important, and there's a lot more. We're looking at cardiovascular risk assessment. We're looking at vascular health. We're looking at gut health. The gut's typically not talked about, but the gut controls our whole body. The gut controls our immune system. It controls hormones. It controls neurotransmitters. It controls so much, and most people don't even think about it. Primary care, internal medicine, traditional healthcare doesn't even know what to do with this whole concept of gut health other than just do a scope and look for cancer. So it's looking at all of these facets of our health and understanding that all of these can come into play when it comes to our health and our functional assessment of potential blind spots. And so that's really where it starts, is the diagnostic testing, Dave, to find what are the areas of concern. We use data to really drive decisions from there. So what I mean by that is, we're all different. And I love on Twitter, you have people battling over what's the perfect diet, and you have the people who are doing keto battling with the people who are doing the Mediterranean versus vegan versus carnivore versus all these different diets. The answer is we're all different. And our genetics and our environment guide actually what might be best for us. And so I like to say one size fails all, and that there's no perfect answer. And so we use data to drive it. So we use genetics for understanding what's right for your body. We use blood sugar tracking called CGM, or continuous glucose monitoring, where we can actually understand how your blood sugar is varying throughout the day. We can look at diagnostics related to the quality of your sleep. We can talk about how important sleep is. We can measure your stress on a daily basis, and we know how important stress can be. We can use all this data now combined with the diagnostics that we've done to now design a clear, personalized blueprint for, hey, Dave, this is what you should be eating. This is how you should be moving. This is how you should be breathing. This is the supplementation that we recommend for you. And these are all the things that you should be doing to optimize your human system. And then we're going to start over again, and we're going to see what's working and what's not working. And we're going to continue to refine and improve. That's what it's really all about, David. It's, we all have KPIs in our business, and we all have metrics of success. But I'll ask the listener, what are your KPIs for your health? What are you doing to actually track success and if what you're doing is actually working or not. And that's where we can move the needle. And that's where we can really shift the paradigm and go completely beyond where our healthcare system is failing.
Yeah, that's so spot on. I was fortunate enough to, learn about functional medicine probably about, I guess, 39, 40. And, the first time I went in and did, my panels and all those assessments, I mean, I thought I was in the Marines. I mean, I've done Ironman before, marathons. I mean, totally live a healthy lifestyle, eat well, all of those kind of things. But I could not, be more amazed at how, I did have gut issues. And in fact, some of my sports overtraining actually caused additional issues that I was having, right?
That's
with,
right.
Stress in the body, leaky gut, right? Some different things that I had no idea, were happening. Some additional calcification in my arteries that was kind of building up, right? And had I not done that, right, these things are just like landmines in you waiting to turn into something that are much bigger. And then also to your point, it's all about optimization, right? I mean, can you imagine the amount of people that in this day and age are just walking around like probably at 50% of their actual capacity of feeling good, having the right amount of energy, right? All of those things. So if you could optimize that, I mean, how powerful would that be in your life?
Yeah, we all get stuck in this concept of, am I okay? Am I normal? And we could dive down rabbit holes of lab test results and stuff if you wanted to. But suffice it to say that a lot of times guys will look at their lab numbers, and on the right side of the page is that reference range, and they'll be told by their primary care doctor, you're normal, you're fine, you're okay, you're in that range, and okay, I'm good. And you go through life thinking that you're fine, when the key word is optimize, you just said, and how can we identify, areas that we can improve rather than settling for mediocre.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, once you can achieve that peak performance, right, it can really take you to new levels. So it all starts with education, getting that why in place, like you talked about, and then that's one of the the purpose of this show, right, is to find shortcuts or resources like Dr. Gapin, where you could completely accelerate, right, your health by tapping into his knowledge, his facility, right, what you could actually do versus, the alternative, right, which is you think you're being healthy, but it's really not customized for you. And then something could just happen.
Yeah. I'll give you a great story that might drive that point home perfectly for you, Dave. One of my clients, he's actually a professional race car driver, lives here in Sarasota, and he first came to me a couple of years ago because he was having issues with brain fog, couldn't think clearly, couldn't think sharply, and he felt like it was affecting his decision making on the track, which is obviously a big deal if you're racing a car 200 miles an hour if you can't make quick decisions. And so we did testing, and we found some hormone issues, but that really didn't change anything. And then we tested his gut, and he had some mild to moderate issues in his gut. We did food sensitivity testing, and we found that he had massive sensitivity to bananas and coffee. Now, guess what he had for breakfast every single day? Bananas and coffee.
Yeah.
And so by making that one little tweak that, this is a blind spot, so to speak, that we would have never identified otherwise, that really changed everything. And for every guy, it's something different like that you don't know until you dig deep and you find it. And that made all the difference in the world for him once we were able to find that and turn things around.
Yeah, that's a great point, a great example. What do you think about, from a genetic standpoint, right? If you do genetic testing, how much are you actually predisposed to some of those markers, or can you change your methylation pathways?
Great question. Yeah, I don't want to disparage anyone, but there's a lot of stuff being sold out there right now where you can get these 4 markers, and basically these 4 markers, here's this big massive supplement panel you should buy now. And I want to caution people away from directly correlating your genetics with an outcome. So there's this concept called epigenetics, and what epigenetics it means is literally above the genes, and it's the science of how your lifestyle, your environment, your behaviors directly affect genetic expression. For example, you have a gene called ApoE, apolipoprotein E, which is a gene related to cardiovascular health and Alzheimer's disease cognitive decline. For people who have a variant of that gene, ApoE4, either a 3-4 or a 4-4 is what it's called, but suffice it to say a variant of the ApoE gene, they are at massively increased risk of developing cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, Alzheimer's at a very early age. Well, oh, crap, I'm screwed. Well, not quite, because what we've learned is that for those who have that genetic variant, if you change your diet and if you reduce your saturated fat intake specifically, and if you reduce your sugar intake specifically, that risk drops to the same risk as the general population. You completely eliminate any risk at all by simply identifying how you should alter your diet. And that one little tweak changes that entire risk. And that genetic variant is no longer a problem for you because you overcome that with your lifestyle. MTHFR is one that gets a lot of attention. People call it the mother effer gene. And MTHFR is a gene related to how your body methylates. And methylation is a process that happens in every single cell of your body every single day. It's happening billions of times a second. And it's a very important cellular process. For some people who have a variant of this MTHFR gene, you don't methylate as well. However, if you were eating foods that were high in B complex vitamins and folate, then you would overcome that issue and not even have a problem whatsoever. And so what we do when we work with folks is we run genetics to understand predispositions and help you understand how can you modify that risk or change the outcome simply by what you're eating, how you're moving, supplementation you're taking, etc. Another example, there are genes related to carbohydrate metabolism. The PLIN1 gene is one of the stronger ones. PLIN1 regulates how your body responds to carbohydrates. And we're not talking about cakes and refined sugars and packaged products. We're talking about complex carbs, quinoa, broccoli, sweet potatoes, and so on. What we've learned from the PLIN1 data is that some people do very well with higher complex carb intake. They actually can lose weight better, have better cardiovascular risk with higher complex carb intake. So do you think that guy would do well with a keto diet? Obviously not. And so that's how we can use genetics to really fine tune our recommendations of, exactly how much should I be eating? How many calories should I eat on a daily basis, which we can do other testing to figure that out. And then with genetics, we can guide you on this is the macronutrient breakdown, fats, carbs, and proteins that you should be eating on a daily basis. And then we can get very granular about these are the exact types of foods that have the micronutrients that can help support potential deficiencies that you may have. There's a gene related to vitamin A. Vitamin A is, typically you think of in carrots or, beta carotene is high in vitamin A. Some people don't convert beta carotene, the dietary form that we think of, into the biologically active form of retinoic acid. And so for those people, knowing that dietary beta carotene will never get your levels where you want to be, we just simply supplement with a multivitamin that has high enough retinoic acid form of vitamin A. It's that simple once you understand the genetics. So that's how you can fine tune it. So I would never suggest that someone go out there and get a genetic panel. And I'm not married to any one particular company. We use one company in particular here because I like the quality of the data. But I wouldn't then take that data and take it to mean that I need to buy these supplements to support that. That's the problem that it has turned into in our retail market-driven society.
Yeah, the personalized approach in medicine is, I think it's so important, right? Everyone out there wants to say, yeah, this diet is better, this exercise program is better, but it's complete generalization. And it's, we have the same parallel actually in investing, right? everyone thinks, oh, well, this type of investment is the best way to go, but it's really, completely generalized, right? So you
Right.
need to do, specific things that support your vision, to support your body, and where you are, right?
Yeah, exactly right. And this goes back to my comment: one size fails all. And
I like that.
yeah, and depending on your genetics, depending on your laboratory data, we'll see this a lot also where genetics may show increased risk for insulin resistance, which is basically problems with blood sugar regulation, early diabetes. Well, for a lot of people, that doesn't even show up. You look at their actual laboratory data, their fasting glucose, their fasting insulin, their hemoglobin A1C, their uric acid, all these markers of metabolic health, they're stone cold normal. And what that means is that this person's lifestyle, their nutrition, their behaviors has overcome any risk that they may have had genetically. And so that's why you can't rely on genetics as anything more than predisposition, propensity, and then you got to dive deep to understand if it's actually having an effect.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about toxicity. It feels like we're living in an age that, was never really meant for humans, right? We have so many artificial lights and, air pollution, right? Things that are messing up your endocrine system. I mean, everywhere you go. And I think it's really having a significant effect on us. And people aren't really aware of what's happening, right, from a cumulative standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to facetiously say we're living in a soup of endocrine disruption. It is ubiquitous. It's around us everywhere. And I'll go through some examples to put it into perspective. First of all, endocrine disruptors are any chemicals or toxins that affect endocrine function, either endocrine production, endocrine receptor function, endocrine levels, hormones of any kind. It's associated with things like autoimmune disease, infertility, low testosterone, we'll talk about, cancers, obesity, any kind of health issue that we're seeing can in some way be tied back to toxins in our environment. We can look at the foods that we're eating. So our crops, especially in the Midwest, corn crops especially, are sprayed with a chemical called atrazine. Atrazine is an herbicide like glyphosate, and it's been shown to crush hormone production, especially testosterone. There was a pretty scary study where they looked at frogs and they exposed them to very minute levels of atrazine in their water. And it turned, no kidding, male frogs into female frogs that can actually reproduce and lay eggs and reproduce. Pretty scary, just by poisoning them with atrazine. And we have massive levels of atrazine detectable in our bodies. It is in our food. It's in our food supply. And we're eating it every day. We could look at food containers, plastic containers, especially if you're heating it up, if you're microwaving it, especially any kind of food container that's plastic. These are made with phthalates. They're made with BPA, which is bisphenol A. And these chemicals are leaching into our food. We can look at our water supply. Plastic water bottles was just a study that came out last month, actually earlier this month, January, that said 1 liter of water from a plastic water bottle had, I think, 250,000 particles of plastic in it. It's phthalates and BPA, again, that we're absorbing in our bodies. It gets stored in our visceral fat or subcutaneous fat, and it's crushing our hormones. It's causing autoimmune disease. It's causing cancers. Our water supply is tainted with things such as synthetic estrogen. So women's birth control, I like to smart-ass facetiously say that all guys are on the pill because our drinking water has massive levels of synthetic estrogen that our treatment plants aren't clearing. They're not able to filter that out. And synthetic estrogen is different than our body's estradiol that we make in our body from testosterone. Very different. Synthetic estrogen will bind to an androgen receptor, which is what testosterone does its job through, and it will stick to it like glue. And it turns off any possibility of testosterone doing its job by blocking these androgen receptors. So our drinking water is poisoned. We could look at our personal care products like laundry detergent, soap, shampoo, sunscreen, deodorant, anything that's coming in contact with your skin, we're absorbing it through our skin, and these chemicals are causing all these health problems we're talking about. there are ways we could talk about of mitigating these exposures, but suffice it to say, Dave, they're everywhere and it's causing a massive effect and it's getting worse. And there's some attention to it now, but not enough.
What if everything you thought you knew about investing was wrong? Would you like to create a wealth strategy like the top 1% have and get exclusive access to top private equity deals that provide downside protection, tax efficiency, predictable cash flow, and have a lucrative upside? Discover how with the Pantheon Advantage and join our investor club today at pantheoninvest.com.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a significant issue. And when you start looking at the numbers in this country of, obesity rates, cancer, diabetes, your top four, I mean, it just keeps escalating. And it seems, contrarian, right? Because we live in a time when there's, amazing innovations, right? So much technology, there's more resources and money and things, yet our healthcare just keeps declining. In fact, aren't we as a country, I believe we're something like ranked like 150th in terms of like health in the world, which is really scary.
Yeah, I think the stat that I found a few weeks ago was actually, I think the U.S. spends $4.5 trillion every year in healthcare, but we are the absolute worst when it comes to chronic disease and the absolute worst when it comes to obesity. I think 3/4 of adults in the U.S. are either overweight or obese, and that's getting worse every year. So we're failing. Our healthcare system is failing, and paying attention to these toxins is an easy starting point.
Yeah, and I always find it interesting, right? Traveling to Europe and Italy, right? You have, such different standards for the quality of food. And it's amazing. After 2 days, you just feel differently. And I eat salads and Mediterranean stuff here, but you show up over there and it's like, I could actually have a piece of bread and not feel bad. Yeah. It's pretty staggering, how they actually manage, things.
It really is night and day difference, the quality of the food here versus overseas. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, testosterone. I know that's a bit of your forte, and obviously wrote a book on it and everything. And again, I'm trying to bring some personal examples to the audience, of my journey and how important this is. But, my T was low, right? When actually back in 40. And I think it happens to most, middle-aged men, for the most part. I can't speak for women, but, that T just keeps dropping, because of a lot of these different factors. So can you unpack, your viewpoint on that?
For sure. Yeah. So I call it a testosterone epidemic, where we are seeing massively diminished testosterone levels. There was a massive longitudinal study here in the U.S. There were similar studies in Sweden and Finland that each lasted over 20 years. And these longitudinal studies tracked testosterone levels. And what they found was that the free testosterone, which we'll talk about in a moment, the difference between total and free, the free testosterone was down 45% over 20 years. Wow. And that's for age-matched groups. So to be clear, what that means is you take a 40-year-old guy today, and he has a free testosterone level that's about half of what it was 20 years ago. And that's a massive drop in free testosterone. And this is not just about sex. It's not just about building muscle, bodybuilding, etc., aesthetics. It's about cardiovascular health. We know that low testosterone is associated with an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, about 30% increase. We know that it's associated with cognitive decline, issues with memory, focus, concentration, mental acuity. It's associated with mood alteration and depression. It's associated with increasing visceral fat, obviously, inability to burn fat and build muscle. It crushes sleep. It crushes drive. It affects bone health. It affects sexual function, of course. It has so many downstream deleterious effects, and it's continuing to get worse every year.
Yeah, pretty amazing. And I think a lot of people, again, just don't realize where they are. And coming back to your earlier point, right, what's interesting is that those markers, what they say is normal, is not normal, right? So you're not actually identifying that, you've dropped 40%, from where you were in your 20s. And then the other thing is, right, all of the listeners on this show are high performers. So we're not looking to be normal, right? We're looking to be above average and optimize. So in order to do that, you got to start with at least understanding where you are.
Yeah, and you're spot on. And what happens is a lot of times is men will go to their primary care doctor who doesn't understand this stuff, unfortunately, and they'll get a total testosterone level, which is not the full story. The free is what you really want to get. But nonetheless, they'll get this testosterone number and they'll be told, well, yeah, you're in this normal range, and so you're fine. I want to emphasize, as I mentioned earlier, that reference range is not necessarily where you want to be. So think about that reference range on your lab slip, and for testosterone, it's going to be this ridiculous wide range. Let's say 250 to 900. Something is literally that wide of a range. Well, how do they get that range? That can't be what's optimal, right? Well, it's just simply the average. So LabCorp request, they will look at the average of all the billion testosterone lab tests that they've done, and they will look 2 standard deviations above and below that. And because we're seeing such a massive decline in testosterone, that range has gotten huge. And now that's your reference range. It's just the bell curve, the statistical average of all the labs that they've done. But then if you think about the fact that those studies showed us that our levels are half what they were 20 years ago, the average, now you could think that bell curve has simply shifted to the left. It's gotten lower and lower. So what was 20 years ago way below the curve, now you're in the middle of the curve and you're being told that you're okay. And that's the crime that's being committed against men.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. What is your prerogative on biohacking, and where does this whole world of biohacking kind of meet, healthcare these days?
Yeah, I love the work Asprey has done, and I know you're friends with him as well. And I support everything that he's doing to bring awareness to this concept of biohacking. I think that there is a clear role for biohacking in everything else that we do. I like to emphasize that sometimes it's icing on the cake, though. So, for example, I love peptides. Peptides are an amazing way that we can take your health to the next level. I love the benefits of cryo, of cold plunge, ice bath, cold shower, whatever you want to do for cryo, the benefits of cryo. I love sauna. I love focusing on things like red light, PEMF beds. Are all these great tools that we have are incredible. However, if you have not optimized your hormones, if you have not cleaned up your nutrition, if you're not sleeping with good quality sleep, REM and deep sleep, stages tracked and measured and optimized, if you're not moving, if you're not optimizing your gut, if you're not cleaning up your micronutrients, if you're not doing all these things that we talk about, then those tools, those tactics are not necessarily where you should be paying the most attention. I'm sure there's a parallel in the financial world of investing where guys like to do these fringe kind of things when they're not taking care of the main core strategies that they need to be having in the first place. And that's the scary part of it sometimes, where guys don't necessarily want to do the hard work. They want the easy button that sometimes you may just not be ready for that easy button quite yet until we do some of the foundational work first.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
What does your morning routine look like?
Get up at 6 every day, and I am not a morning person. First, I want to clarify. Some guys are like, I'm going to get up at 4. I accept that, and so I stay up later, and I have my schedule worked out. But I get up at 6, and I try to get up at 5. It just doesn't work for me. Everyone's different. And my circadian, we actually do genetics around this, and my genetics show that I'm actually better as a night owl rather than a morning morning bird, or whatever you want to call it. So I get up at 6. I make my coffee. I do my HRV measurement. So HRV, heart rate variability, is a measurement of stress. And the key is that you want to measure it every day at the exact same time. And so for me, it's at 6 o'clock. I wake up, moment of gratitude, get my coffee, sit on the couch, and I'm now doing my HRV assessment. It takes 2.5 minutes to get that reading. While I'm doing that, I'm now planning out my day. I have not opened email yet, don't look at social, don't do anything on my phone. I use my phone to turn on my HRV reading, Bluetooth, and that's it. I'm focused on what are my goals, what are my big rocks for the day to get going. I will later in the day have blocked out time for fitness. For me, I work out best at lunchtime. So I have in my schedule, my busy schedule, my team knows, and I'm blocked out on my calendar that from 12:30 to 2, I'm in the gym. You can't find me. You can't reach me. You can't touch me. And that's when I work out best. And so I've made that the big rock in my day, so to speak. But yeah, so that's my morning routine. My kids get up about 6:30. They are my everything. And so I spend about 30 minutes just enjoying the morning with them and snuggling with them on the couch and spending a little quality time with them. And then I get ready for work and I go. And I tell you what, that little bit of time with the kids for me is so important, because sometimes my work will go late in the dinner time, past dinner time in the evening, and at least I know that I've spent some great time with them in the morning, and I'll get some time with them before they go to bed as well.
Awesome. Yeah, no, really insightful there. It's been such a pleasure having you come on the show, Dr. Gapin. I just can't stress enough how important this is. And I really applaud the work you're doing, because, again, we live in this world with really a broken system, and you're going against the norm and trying to help other people, educate them, get them on the right path, which, truly can be life-saving. So that's really great. If you were to give just one piece of advice to the audience about how they could actually accelerate, the one thing that they could do to accelerate their health in 2024, what would it be?
Yeah, get tested, get some diagnostic testing done, check your hormones, check things like specifically free testosterone, your free T3 thyroid, DHEA, vitamin D levels, test your nitric oxide, key hormones, look for inflammation markers, check labs related to blood sugar regulation, look at your gut health. Get those diagnostics as a baseline just to start to understand what may be some hidden blind spots that you don't even realize are problems that need to be addressed. I deal with high performers all day, every day. And, we tend to think that I got this, I'm good, I'm not stressed out, no problems here. There are things happening underneath the hood that you don't even know are there. And would you rather catch it now? Would you rather be like Paul Allen or, Bob Harper, one of these guys that didn't know till it was too late?
Yeah, that's great. So if people would like to connect with you, learn more about the Gapin Institute, what's the best place to find you?
Thanks so much. So website's gapininstitute.com. And I have a gift for the listeners. We have a high performance health handbook, which is 15 strategies and tactics to go a little more granular than we have today to help guys have a starting point of what can I do to optimize my mind and body. And so just text the word health, that's HEALTH, to the number 26786. Again, that's health to 26786. You'll also get with that a complimentary digital copy of my best-selling book, Mel 2.0. And you'll also get a link to, if you want to reach out to my team to see how we can work with you, you'll get that as well.
Awesome. Really appreciate the time and insights today, Dr. Gapin.
For sure, man. Good time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Wealth Strategy Secrets. If you'd like to get a free copy of the book, go to holisticwealthstrategy.com. That's holisticwealthstrategy.com. If you'd like to learn more about upcoming opportunities at Pantheon, please visit pantheoninvest.com. That's pantheoninvest.com.
What if everything you thought you knew about investing was wrong? Would you like to create a wealth strategy like the top 1% have and get exclusive access to top private equity deals that provide downside protection, tax efficiency, predictable cash flow, and have a lucrative upside? Discover how with the Pantheon Advantage and join our investor club today at pantheoninvest.com.